All right, Alice, here's your spread. So first we're going to look at where you were in this past life, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day, another important day, your death, and the lesson learned. And we'll get a sense of time throughout, all right? So your job is going to be to make the connections where you can, and I'll help along the way, all right? Okay, so let's start. And first of all, I do want to mention it's very cool because this is the first combo I've seen that like really go together right here, because this card right here, this is kind of the nomad card or the no home card. It's the card that indicates that you moved around a lot, or it means that the place that you had lived in this life no longer exists. Like it's a new country than it was. Like the place just no longer exists on the map as it was as we knew it back then. That kind of thing. And why it's fun that it's combined with this one right here, what you did with the majority of your time, because this is the Wanderer card. So we have the Nomad card with the Wanderer card, and like that's the best combination you can have, right? It makes perfect sense. And immediately it jumped out to me that you were indeed moving around a lot. It's not about that this place doesn't exist anymore. It's that you were actually moving around from place to place. And I want to say right away, usually connections for me, they don't really jump out until around here, but I want to say for you to keep in mind such things as if you're someone that really craves stability in this lifetime, it could be because you wandered in so many directions, you went all over the place, you didn't have a very stable environment for most of the time. On the flip side, this can also mean that instead of stability, you're someone in this life who craves mobility. You might be someone who is actually really settled in her life, maybe with a family and in one place, you know, that has a home or whatever, and you have an urge to get out there and see the world and take an adventure, take a weekend away, something like that. So that's how you can make connections, all right? So let's see what this is about. I see that in this life, you're a man. You are a man in this life. And there's a certain thing about your skin tone that makes it so that you can really blend in anywhere. You have this ability to kind of not be, not harassed, but you're never really like, you don't stick out. You're not pointed out as a foreigner too much, because there's something about, I want to say your parents were two different races that came together, or two different ethnicities. Because I'm seeing a color that's not even a color. I'm seeing like a beige-ish, tannish, orangish kind of coloring with hair that's kind of like a, I want to say like bronzish, like but not just one color. It has like multicolor to it, and this is a time when, you know, hair dye, that's not what's happening here. It's just that you have a look about you that really allows you to seamlessly walk the areas, the world where you are, the regions that you go, without being a problem, without being pointed out, without being really noticed in a good way. And you like this. And I get this feeling, I feel like you're a wandering bard, like you're a wandering storyteller of sorts, someone who is welcome around campfires. I feel like this is centuries ago. I feel like it's centuries ago. I want to say like when there's this great thing happening in the world, a turning point of technology, but not like technology of computers or anything, but what's the word? It's like when there's, come on, I should know this, like economies are happening, like economies are changing, currencies are changing, new currencies are being developed. There's the bargaining in this place that we're in. We're seeing the end of the era of bargaining. We're seeing the end of the era of where you go around and you tell a story and you entertain people with a story, and you're given shelter and food and and kindness. And I feel like we're seeing the end of this era, even though you're part of it. So you're still experiencing all of that in this life. This is your life. I'm just seeing you wander around, and there's something about your voice, and there's something about there's like an intuitive storytelling that you have, that you can capture an audience with. So keep that in mind too for your current life. If you like to use your voice, if your voice is soothing, if people find your voice soothing, if you have the kind of voice that puts your grandchildren to sleep, if you have grandchildren, that kind of thing. Even if you do voiceovers ever, if you're an entertainer, if you ever had the desire to entertain, even small groups, family, or the stage, whatever that might pertain to you, however that speaks to you. All right, so it's like, it's like you didn't have a lot to you. It was like the shirt on your back and a sack that you carried, but you had an air of dignity. You had an air of dignity, not like a hobo, not like someone who is desperate, who is down on his luck. This is someone who thrives with this kind of lifestyle, okay? So let's move to the first important day. All right, so here, this is interesting. So what we have here is the birth card. Birth card, these are not always to be taken at face value, because the birth card doesn't mean it's the birth of your child per se. Here's the family card with the relationship that's associated with it, all right? And the emotion that's associated with this is this card is called Just Keep Rolling Right Along, the peaceful card. There's a peace, okay. So on this day, what I'm seeing very clearly is this day, it kind of hits you, because I feel like you're getting to an age when if a man has the ticking clock, like how women, their clocks start ticking, if a man were to have that, I feel like you get hit with it, because I feel like this day you are staying with a group of people, a family, and what I'm seeing, I'm just going to tell you what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing like this kind of low wooden house. Oh man, I feel like I really want to say that this is Northern Europe-y. I want to say this is almost like, what's the architecture? Like a Swiss, no, like Swedish or Swiss. I know they're two very different countries. Sweden or Swiss? I feel like this is Switzerland. I feel like this is actually really Switzerland. At least I'm getting a Swiss thing. So I feel like it's Switzerland. This is in like where it's like the dark wood houses. Something that you might find if you're in America here, you would find as like a ski resort lodge, that kind of thing. But like those kind of basic wooden lodges. And I feel like you're at this house, and during this time, you witness a home birth, which is typical at this time. There aren't hospitals around yet here. This is where midwives come into play. This is a time when birthings are done at home. This birthing, I felt like, came so soon that where the men would be rushed out for the women to tend to the birth, it happened so quickly that there was really no time to say, okay, you go, we got this. Everybody was involved, everybody was there, and everyone witnessed it, and it just came very quickly, and this whole family came together, and you, even though you were part of the family for that night, for giving them the gift of your tales, your story, whatever you did to make it so that you could stay with them that night, it's almost like the daughter and the daughter's partner lived with the family. This family just lived in this one house, and the daughter gave birth. You were there. I could see this young girl with dark hair, pale skin, and it's just like, boom, there's the kid, and you're kind of hanging in the background watching this in awe. You've never seen a live birth. This was amazing, not just because of the live birth itself, which was kind of shocking. There's like a feeling of like you're like a deer in headlights, but you're behind the scene. No one really is paying any mind to you because you're really not part of the family. They care about you, but you're not part of the family. But you're standing behind this circle of family, and you're feeling the power and the energy of this family unit coming together over the birth of another member of their tribe, of their community, of who's going to be part of their family. And you feel this unifying energy, this energy you've never felt before. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. And you're just, your system is shocked, and it almost hits you like you're missing something. Like you like your life, but you're missing something. And the peaceful feeling comes in because this feeling, you're not exactly peaceful in this moment, but there's this like deep knowing of knowing what you want your next step to be, and that maybe your life as a wandering bard is kind of playing itself out. You feel this day you're feeling ready for the next step, the next level. And it's a really beautiful moment for you. It's almost like your soul elevates. This is where you actually feel yourself maturing. And it's a very interesting time. Very interesting day for you. So in your current life, if you might be someone who wants or has a large family or a family unit. If you don't have a family unit, you crave a family unit. If you have a family unit, I imagine that I feel like it'd be a top priority. Something sacred, something dear, something you cherish so much. Where, some people say blood is thicker than water, and you like that phrase. That holds true. Okay, so keep that in mind for this day. Okay, so the second important day, let's get to it. This is really great too. Okay, cool. So we have a marriage, and it doesn't always mean your marriage, but this one is your marriage. This day basically shocked you straight. You're like, I need to settle down, find someone, and start building my family. And that's what happens, and it's linked with this soul group card. And there's also this feeling here, which is interesting, and this card is the sorrow card. So let's see what this means. I'll tell you what I'm feeling, okay? So what's lovely is that this marriage is the start of you bringing people from your soul group into incarnating into this life, right? So not only is your partner part of your soul group, the souls that travel with you through time and space over and over again in different lives, they pop up. You're always together. It's like a family, a soul family. The partner is part of the soul family, and together you bring in more members of your soul family to join your family. All right. And I also want to say there is something about your partner's sibling. I don't know if she has one or many, but there is definitely a bond between you and one of her siblings, which is very special too. And this bond opens you up to the relationships that you can have through non-blood. So keep that in mind too. If you have made friendships in your life that aren't, they're friendships, but they feel so much deeper. So like having a sister from another mister, those kinds. You might have one of those, and that's a feeling that is kind of a cell memory for you, especially in this life, is when you realize at this moment, at this time of your life, that you not only find the love of your life and partner, but and learn that non-blood can also be just as thick, so to speak, and just as special, even more special. But through the sibling too, you make that connection. All right, so I'm trying to see if I can see your partner and who this girl is. What happens is there is another girl in this place. You stay here. You settle down in this Switzerland village. Keep that in mind if you have any desire to visit Switzerland. If you've ever seen pictures of Switzerland, anything like the Swiss clocks or the Swiss, whatever it might be, if you have any kind of connection to that could stem from this life. So keep that in mind. You may not, and that's okay, but you very well could as well. Okay, so the sorrow card comes in because there is a little piece of you. I feel this little piece of you that misses the days of wandering. You miss what traveling brought you. Traveling brought you fresh perspectives and new insights and beautiful sceneries and the excitement of not knowing what comes next, and the joy of meeting new people and making fresh connections and learning how you can make such close connections only knowing someone in 2 days a span of 2 days, you know, like people would invite you to stay in their homes and trust you, and you found the trust of these people to be overwhelming. You loved it. It was almost like a craving. And so I see you building this family, and I do see you just having that lingering desire to wander, but you don't wander again. And that's okay. And you're quite happy to put that to the side for what you get in exchange for that. So just keep that in mind. Again, if in your current life you do have these little urges to kind of get out and go, and you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings if you want to take a weekend away and go somewhere by yourself even, and just go into the unknown and see what happens over a weekend and have fun, right? And I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to follow your urges to do that. It will be good for you, okay? So let's go to your death. Now this card right here is the accident card, and I'm just trying to see what accident happened. What's going on here? What accident? Okay, so what I'm seeing or feeling, or whatever you want to call it, I'm feeling and seeing wind and water. And I feel like you are... Something happens like where you're swept off your feet. And you're swept off your feet and you get drenched. Possibly knocked out too. And so you get drenched, you get knocked out, you go home, and because you survive it, whatever happens, like a wind, like a what's it called? Even like, not an avalanche, like a flooding or a mudslide or something happens where you're caught up in this wet natural disaster. And it's almost like you're helping people prepare for something coming. You know, like how in Florida they know that a hurricane is coming, so they put stuff on the windows. Well, it's almost like the weather is coming, it's getting bad, and you're helping the town prepare, and you get swept along with like a flood of some sort, and it doesn't kill you, but you go home and you die from something like, I want to say pneumonia, like the being wet and whatever happened, it like a cold, a really bad cold, really something with, it just took you down. There was something with your respiratory system where you just got a cold, something in the lungs like clogging. Yeah. And you go, and I want to say at this time, I'm seeing you with like lines on your face. Your face, your skin has become the skin of, you know, a little bit older. I want to say you're around early 60s, maybe 60, early 60s. At this time when you catch this pneumonia, bronchitis, whatever it may be. And that is what takes you out. So keep that in mind as far as your current life. If you have if you're susceptible to getting colds every winter, if you're one of those people that you get bronchitis, or you've got pneumonia, you have respiratory problems, breathing problems, if you're someone that gets cold when you shouldn't be cold, so to speak, like you have cold feet, cold hands a lot, or you like to wear jackets when you don't need them, so to speak, you know, when everyone else is fine, or you're the one that's cold. Yeah, I would just say keep that in mind, that if there's anything having to do with that, or maybe you have like a chronic cough or something with your chest, lungs, something going on there, keep that in mind if that's the case, that it would be stemming from this life, and it doesn't serve you anymore, and it's something that can be gotten rid of. All right? So, next, the lesson, the life lesson. This is a beautiful lesson because this is self-explanatory in itself. The lesson here is experience, and you had such an experience. There is without a doubt, I have no doubt that you learned this lesson. You experienced life alone. You experienced life out in the world, wandering around, taking risks with your safety, taking risks in general, also putting yourself out there with your tales and your stories, and entertaining people at the same time, trusting people, sleeping under others' roofs, so you were accepting of their hospitality. You gave people warmth with your personality. You didn't push people away in this life. This life, you gathered them close to you to an extent here, because you always left. You always did leave. But then when you got here, this is when you really learn to really foster that like really close knit warmth of a family, of a community. And you became a very beloved person in this community. You became a community person. That might be something also in your current life. You might actually either, one, be a community person involved in community, or two, crave to have a community to be involved with. Yeah? So just keep that in mind. Maybe not, but I want to say, so everything you got married, you had a child. Yeah, I don't want to say you actually had children. I want to say you had more than one child here. You experienced the highs and lows. You were ecstatic. You were sad. You know, small sadness, high highs, low lows, everything. And yeah, I mean, you also experienced during your death. You experienced what it was like to die, being taken care of by people that really loved you. And there was a gratefulness, a depth of gratefulness that you learned even in that alone. Even though you already learned gratefulness by the people that took you in, there is another depth you learned in gratefulness. Dying with someone that you loved, who loved you, taking care of you. It's kind of an unfathomable feeling that you can't know unless you experience it. That kind of thing. So, here's your life. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. Keep making connections, and thanks for letting me read you.